Guys, it's almost interview season, which means it's time to learn how to sell yourself and secure that offer at your dream dental school. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Raina on the Cusp. My name is Raina. I'm a fourth year dental student at the University of Sheffield, and today we are going to go through how to prepare for the dental school interview, how to answer a few common questions, and at the end of the video, some tips for how to come across well in an online interview. I think this is going to be a fairly long video, so everything will be timestamped in the description box down below. Please feel free to click around as you like. And if for some reason you don't want to watch this whole video, which I really hope you do, I'm so excited to announce I'm going to be releasing my own online interview ebook or guide, and it's going to have way more detailed information than I can provide in this video. I did a Q&A on my Instagram a while back and asked what you guys wanted to know about interviews, and there were so many questions I just can't answer everything in this video, so hopefully that ebook will have an answer to your question. And honestly guys, I've actually poured like my heart and soul into this ebook and I'm just so excited for you to see it. It's going to be the best interview guide you've ever seen, and yeah, I really hope I can help you all out as well. So to get the free dental school interview guide, all you need to do is click on the link to my website in the description box down below, and on the homepage you should see this. Then you can either sign up to my mailing list on the homepage below the picture, or you can click get your guide and it will take you to the interview guide page where you can also sign up there. After you've put your email address in, you should hopefully automatically get an email from me with a link to the guide. And then yeah, the guide is all yours. The email will also have a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page if you'd like to support the guide, which you absolutely don't have to, but the option is there. Also really importantly, there will be a link to provide feedback on the guide, and this will take you back to the interview guide on the website. Let me know what you liked about the guide, what could be improved. And yeah, I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy this guide. And a couple of things before we get into the video. Please remember, things like interview preparation are very personal. Please don't compare your preparation to someone else's. Just do what feels right for you and that'll be fine. And also, I will not be sharing any interview questions that I specifically got at mine. I'm not allowed, and I would like to keep my place at dental school. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so starting with my interview offers, I got 4 offers for interview at Sheffield, Manchester, Newcastle and Liverpool. I went to 3 of them, Sheffield, Manchester and Newcastle, and I was lucky enough to secure offers from those 3 dental schools. So I really hope to help you guys in this video and share how I prepared, and hopefully you can secure those dental school offers as well. Let's first talk about the types of dental school interview. Overall, there are 2 main types of interviews: MMIs, which are multiple mini interviews, and panel interviews. So the structure of an MMI is basically where you rotate around different stations, and each station will have a different task, allowing you to show different qualities, and there'll be a marker at each station giving you a separate score. It can be things like role plays, analysing a picture or a graph, a manual dexterity task, or just answering a simple question. And usually you get a separate score at each station, so if you do badly in one station, you can make up for it at other stations. A panel interview, on the other hand, is where you sit in a room opposite 2 to 3 interviewers and you kind of have just a conversation. You get asked very traditional questions like why dentistry not medicine, and usually it's like 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes there can be an extra added element to panel interviews, so you could have a role play like at Sheffield, or a group task like I had at Manchester, so check the website of the dental school to make sure you know what the format is. And also this year there's kind of a third type, but not really. So I don't know this for definite, but I can imagine a lot of dental schools will probably be holding their interviews online. I think a few have confirmed it, but basically this is kind of the same as the other interviews, but it's just through a screen and you're talking to the interviewer through a webcam. The principles of doing well in this kind of broadly remain the same, but I do have a few tips at the end of the video, so please stick around for those. The next question that I've been asked quite frequently is, when should I start preparing for my interview? This is going to vary for everyone depending on how much you're able to do, when your interview is, how much prep you like to do, etc. I personally started preparing around 3 to 4 weeks before my first interview. I think this gives you enough time to go over important concepts like ethics and GDC principles, but you don't feel like you're going to burn out. The good thing about starting to prepare for interviews is once you've done it for your first interview, the general prep can be carried forward to all 4 interviews. You just need to go and do some more research about that specific dental school and their course structure and learning style. This brings me on to the question of how should you actually start preparing for the interviews? So my personal method was literally just opening a Word document on my laptop, compiling a list of questions, common dental school interview questions, and writing bullet point answers to them. And you can use anything to keep track of these questions, a Word document, Google Doc, Evernote, Notion, whatever your favourite note-taking method is. So the reason I say write your answers in bullet points is you really don't want to sound rehearsed. If you start writing out answers in big paragraphs, you run the risk of just learning it and like regurgitating it on the spot. The interviewer will be able to tell, and it's going to sound really forced, really rehearsed, and not very natural at all. Make sure when you are practicing your answers, you're doing this out loud, preferably in a mirror. Just have a look in the mirror, see how you come across, and get feedback from other people as well, because sometimes you can come across differently to how you think. This year, if you do have online interviews, I would highly recommend practicing with a friend over Zoom. This can kind of simulate the actual style and get you used to any problems like internet connection problems or how it sounds talking to someone over webcam. And when you're preparing and practicing your answers, I would recommend setting a timer. This is because you really don't want to waffle in an interview, kind of like how I'm doing now. And it'll give you an idea of how long you're talking for as well. In an MMI, there is a set amount of time per station, so obviously that will vary depending on which dental school interview you're going to. However, in a panel interview, it's kind of like a conversation. So if you get a knowledge question, you really don't want to be talking for more than 2 minutes. It's quite to the point. But if you get a question like why dentistry not medicine, that's kind of more like 3 to 4 minutes. And each answer to a question should have no more than 2 to 3 points, I would say maximum. Okay, next let's talk about what topics you should research and learn about for the interviews. Guys, this can seem like a huge task. I know there is so much to dentistry to learn about, but you just need to have a basic understanding of a few important concepts. So I recently did post on my Instagram about some common topics that you may want to go research in case you get a question about. I will put this on screen now. These are things like NHS dentistry, basic dental conditions like caries and periodontal disease, water fluoridation, things like that. And obviously not all of this will come up. You'd be really unlucky if it does, but you just want to give yourself the best chance if you do get a question and you're not kind of thrown by what it means. Okay, so next, what resources should you use? Like, where do you actually go searching for the information that will help you come up with the questions that you need to prepare answers for, come up with the knowledge that you need to learn for the interviews? Let's talk about all of that. So the first thing that I did was I literally Googled dental school interview questions. And honestly, there are so many results that come up that are super helpful. I will leave links to all of the helpful websites that I found and blog posts in the description box down below, so please do check that. One of my favourite blog posts is this one by Dorky Dental Student. It's really detailed, so I would recommend this one. Also, if you have a medical or dental society at your school, I would highly recommend keeping up with them, because from my college, I think I found out about a few sort of mock interviews and MMIs through them. And for this year, top tip, keep up with the health section of BBC News online. You will probably get a question about how COVID has affected dentistry this year, so you don't want to go in unprepared, not knowing what's been happening, what topical issues have been going on. Know about things like AGPs, aerosol generating procedures, FFP3 masks and the PPE that's being worn, how it's affected patient care, what fallow time is, all of those things like that. I will have more information about this in my ebook, but I do very conveniently have a video on my channel already about how COVID has affected dentistry. Lots of dentists and dental students spoke about their experiences over the past few months, so I would highly recommend you go and check that out. I will leave a link here. And don't forget guys, your biggest resource is your personal statement. This will be picked apart, especially in a panel interview. They will have your personal statement beforehand, they will go through it and they will think of questions that they want to ask you. So you need to go through it yourself and make sure that you absolutely know where a question can come up. Take a highlighter and just highlight anywhere that you think a question can come up. Now, in theory, I know this could probably lead to a fully highlighted page, but you just don't want to take any chances. If there's sort of a question on every line that you think could come up, make sure you are prepared for that and you give yourself the best opportunity to do well. So for example, if you have written about witnessing root canal treatment on your work experience, make sure you have a basic understanding of what that is, because it could come up in interviews as a question. So before we get onto the exciting bit of the video where we actually go through some answers to some common questions, I thought I would just quickly run through some skills of a dentist. I'll put these on screen now, and these are the skills that you always want to be linking your answers to and making sure you know how a dentist uses them in practice, and also how you also have these skills, giving examples as well. So I've picked out 5 common questions that I want to go through in this video. I will have way more questions in my guide, so I hope you still find this useful. The first question that I want to go through is the infamous why dentistry? This question does seem to completely baffle people, including me at the time, but I don't think it really needs to be that complicated. The first point that I would recommend you start with is what initially drew you to dentistry? What was that initial spark where you thought dentistry could be the one? Just be 100% honest about your experiences, and it's going to come across as genuine and that you're really passionate about doing dentistry. The second point that I would mention is, how did you develop this initial interest? Did you go away and read more? Did you speak to dentists? Did you go on work experience? Did you do any online work experience? And what did you actually learn about dentistry from doing this? And then the third thing that I would mention is specific skills that you saw during your work experience or through your research if you didn't get any work experience this year, and how you also have those skills through giving an example of an activity. Okay, so I'll give you a really brief example of how I would answer why dentistry. So my very first initial interest in dentistry kind of started quite a few years ago. I was on a trip to Madagascar and we were in quite a rural area, and it was the first time that I'd visibly seen quite poor oral health in the people that lived there. I learnt it was due to a lack of oral health education and access to dental care, and it was the first time I'd really sort of even thought about teeth. So when I got back, I underwent orthodontic treatment for 2.5 to 3 years, which is quite a long time, and it really gave me a massive amount of exposure to dentistry as well. And then I decided to do more work experience, so I did general practice, pediatrics in a dental lab, and maxillofacial as well, because I wanted a wide variety of experience to see if dentistry was really for me. And specifically the things that I saw that really appealed were how science is very strongly applied in dentistry, and it's a subject that I really enjoy at school, so it would be nice to use that in my everyday career. And also the high level of manual dexterity that the dentist uses. Specifically, I saw this during a crown preparation in general practice. And I myself use my hands quite a bit. I play musical instruments, piano and guitar. So I think, therefore, dentistry would be quite suitable to this trait. And one of the things I noticed was just how diverse the community of people are that dentistry serves. This is something I've also been exposed to through volunteering in a care home and working part-time in a cafe as well. So yeah, those are kind of the reasons why I would like to do dentistry. And during my work experience, despite seeing some of the negatives, like stressful days if there's many patients, and sometimes having to make all the decisions as well, and taking that leadership role can be a bit stressful as well. Despite all of that, I think that the positives for me personally do outweigh the negatives, and I'm really looking forward to being able to do this career. So always try and use personal experiences to back up what you're saying, because this makes your answer unique and different to everyone else's. There are only so many reasons that someone wants to do dentistry, so if you're bringing in personal experiences, it's going to make your answer a lot more interesting. And also, if you mention braces like I did, it's absolutely fine, but just know that it's not very unique. A lot of people have had braces by now, and they will mention this as a reason for doing dentistry. If you can mention something else, it's probably a little bit better, but don't panic if that's the only thing that you've got, then it's absolutely fine. I also personally like to add that I've seen the reality of dentistry, so there are all of these good things about the career, but you need to be aware that there are negatives, and just having a balanced view will really show the interviewer that you have really thought about your choice and you know what you're getting yourself into. But make sure to say that despite all of this, the positives outweigh the negatives. 3 things that I think you shouldn't do in this answer: don't waffle, don't mention the money, and don't say you're doing it because someone in your family is a dentist. So the next question that I want to discuss is why dentistry, not medicine? This question is kind of like why dentistry, but with an added twist. So it has that element of comparison to medicine, which makes it a little bit more tricky. You want to show your passion for dentistry, but you never want to put down another profession, so you need to be quite tactical about your answer to this. The question isn't asking why is dentistry better than medicine, so just be careful and focus on the positives of dentistry rather than the negatives of medicine. So just to give you an example, so both my parents are actually doctors, so I was lucky enough to be able to explore medicine as a career option, mainly by speaking to them and going to work with them for a few days. And one of the things that I did notice was that people don't tend to go to the doctor or the GP unless they have a problem or they need to, or they feel unwell. And then when they do go to the GP, they get assessed and referred on to someone else, the hospital, and there isn't really that continuation of care from the same person as such. Whereas in dentistry, it's quite normal to go for, you know, your 6-monthly or 12-monthly checkup, even if you don't have a problem. And it means that on work experience, I saw that the dentist can develop really deep relationships with patients that they've seen for years and years, and communication just becomes so much easier. And personally, during my volunteering at a secondary school, I spent my time with the same class of kids, so I got to know them really well, and my communication skills developed more through helping them with various activities in the class. And I really enjoyed that because I don't think I maybe would have done as well if I kept changing the class from week to week rather than just getting to know the same kids. And yeah, that sort of continuation of care is something that really appealed to me in dentistry, and I think that's why I'm more suited to that over medicine. So that's just one example of a comparison point. There'll be many more in my interview guide, but just have 2 to 3 clear points about why dentistry is more suited to you than medicine. Okay, so the third question that I want to go through is, why do you want to come to this dental school or university? This question 100% needs research. Like, you can't wing this, you can't go in and kind of make things up about the dental school or the university. So the best way to go about this would be to go onto the dental school's website and learn about their course structure, their teaching style, their facilities, their research, if they have an elective, what their outreach program is like, and also have a look at the wider facilities of the university and what the city can also offer you. Obviously, under normal circumstances, I would say go and visit the university, but at the moment that's not possible. See if you can book a virtual tour of it, that might be quite helpful as well. And also, if you can, speak to current dental students. They can give you quite a good insight about what life is like there, so that will really help you to make up your answer. One thing to note is every single university is of a really high standard, and everyone will graduate a dentist no matter where you go, so pick the things that genuinely interest you about that dental school. So for me, I loved that Sheffield had full body dissection in first year, early clinical experience, and the Peak District was right on its doorstep where I love to go for walks. Okay, question number 4, if anyone's still watching, which I really hope you are. This question is, give us an example of when you showed X quality. This type of question is where you can really sell yourself and explain how you have that quality and what you've done to show that. However, the trick with this question is to always link it back to dentistry and show that you know how a dentist uses that skill in practice. So if I was answering the question, give us an example of when you showed teamwork. So during sixth form, I completed my Gold Duke of Edinburgh, where we had to work in teams to get to our end chosen point on our expedition. And I think it was the second day, it was raining really, really badly. The terrain was really rough, really muddy, and we couldn't really see much. It was just really harsh conditions, and one of our team members was struggling a little bit more than everyone else. So we basically had to stop and kind of think about what to do because we couldn't leave her behind. And we decided that we would take it in turns to carry her bag so that everyone can make it to camp and, you know, she would be able to complete the expedition with us. And by doing this, it meant that we actually did get there before it got dark and completed the day and the whole expedition as well. And I recognised that this kind of teamwork's really important in dentistry because during my work experience, I saw how the dentist worked really closely with their dental nurse, dental hygienist, receptionist, practice manager, and all of these members of the team kind of make sure the practice runs smoothly day to day and that patient outcomes are the best and they can offer the best care as well. So yeah, that was one of the times I showed teamwork. So always link it back to dentistry. They won't specifically tell you to do this, but make sure you do. The next question that I want to go through is, what did you learn from your work experience? And it's really easy to get carried away with this one, especially if you have done a lot. What you want to do is focus on 1 to 2 specific things that you saw during your work experience. Say what exactly you learned from that, what skills you saw the dentist use, and how you also have those skills, giving examples of activities where you've shown that, which will confirm that you're suitable for dentistry. So another example answer could be something along the lines of, so during my work experience, there was one specific appointment where I observed the dentist do a filling on a particularly anxious patient, and it was just really interesting to see how the dentist actually managed this and modified his communication and management style. So he let the patient listen to music to distract themselves. And he also said that they could put their hand up if they wanted the treatment to stop, so that the patient felt fully in control. And also he did this show and tell thing where he kind of got all of the instruments out that he was going to use in the appointment and explained what they all did so that the patient was fully informed and felt just more in control of the situation. And this kind of modification of communication is something that I've had to apply during my volunteering at a care home, where I've often had to speak to elderly patients that are a little bit confused. So when I've spoken to them, I've had to explain things in quite a gentle, slow manner so that they fully understand what I'm saying and that they also feel like that I'm actually listening to them and I'm explaining things thoroughly as well. So now I have a few tips for how to come across well in an online interview, just in case yours is online this year. Firstly, I would really strongly recommend practicing with a friend or family over Zoom to try and simulate the real thing. The thing with online interviews is it's a lot harder to come across well through a webcam, through a screen, because you can't really see the person's full body language, how they're moving, etc. You need to be cautious about where you're looking, so look straight into the webcam at the interviewer. Make sure they're at the same height as you as well. You don't want to be looking down or looking up at them. And make sure you're sitting somewhere quiet with a clean background. If your room's really messy, don't have that on show and don't have anyone walking in and out of the background. If you can, close the door and make sure that everyone in your household knows that you're doing the interview so they don't disturb you. Definitely still wear interview clothes even if you are just at home. Technically, you could get away with just dressing your top half, but I don't know why you'd want to do that, so I would recommend just fully getting dressed so you feel more in the zone, in the right headspace for the interview. And if your internet connection does drop out during the interview, make sure you do get in contact with a dental school straight away. I'm sure they will all have their own specific policy about what to do if this happens, so make sure you are following that. And one last thing I will say about online interviews is try and get kind of from here upwards visible on the webcam. This is because they will be able to see more of your body language as well as still being able to see your facial expressions. And guys, remember that they've picked you for interview for a reason. They've looked at your grades, your personal statement, your UCAT, and they've gone, yeah, this person's pretty decent and we want to talk to them. This interview is just your chance to confirm their belief that you are the right person and you're the right person for dentistry. Prepare well, have clear answers for why you want to go into this lifelong profession, and make sure you articulate that well. And afterwards, don't stress about what you said. What's done is done, and just know that you've done the best that you can. So I'm wishing you all the best of luck with your interviews. If you have any questions, leave a comment below or message me on Instagram, and I will see you all again in the next one. Bye!